Hey, what's going on, guys? The Rev here. Today we're going to be talking about luck from a biblical perspective. Should Christians believe in it or dismiss it altogether? The thing with luck is that the word doesn't appear anywhere in the Bible. If you go to the Old Testament, it's written in Hebrew and portions of it in Aramaic. In the New Testament, it's written in the Koine Greek. The word luck is Latin, and so it actually doesn't appear in the Bible. But does the principle of luck appear throughout Scripture? Stay tuned and we'll check it out. All right, so check this out. In 1 Kings chapter 22, and verse 34 is the key verse here that I want to focus on. This is talking about the death of King Ahab. And I want you to pay attention to how it words his death. Okay, this was prophesied, but I want you to pay attention to what happens here. In verse 34, but a certain man drew his bow at random and struck the king of Israel between the scale armor and the breastplate. In other words, it shot him right here. Okay? This ultimately led to his death. Notice its choice of word at random. And one of the things that a lot of people say is they use this phrase, all things work together for good. That is coming from Romans 8:28, but it's not the entirety of the verse. It's kind of misquoted, and it is absolutely taken out of context. The whole verse is, for we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Now, if you back up, the context of that is people groaning in prayer, seeking God's will. And once we find that and we remain in that, then things work for good. You're not guaranteed for things working good, working in your favor, if you're going to live a life of rebellion against God. So this whole idea that all things work to good for all people, or just throwing that out there under any circumstance, is absolutely wrong. So let's check this out. When God created everything, there's two things he did in that creation process. Number one, God spoke everything into existence. Okay. The second thing is, you'll notice, and you go back to Genesis, you'll understand this. He tells everything how to exist. He creates the plants, and then he tells the plants to produce after its kind. He creates the animals and tells them to produce after their kind. That right there is God programming nature into the things that he created. What does that mean? It means that God is not up in heaven constantly saying, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. He created you. He told your body how to continue to exist, and now he sits back. If the idea that we can't exist without God's constant intervention, then what did he rest from on the seventh day? He rested from his work, and his work consisted of creating and programming things how to continue to exist. By resting, it means he pulls back and he's not intervening. He's not doing anything. He's just observing. He's just there. He's resting. And so to say that absolutely everything God has his hand in, no, that's not really a biblical principle. I want to define something for you. I want to define a miracle. This is when God steps in and works things out against its nature. Okay? So something happens that shouldn't normally happen under the given circumstances. That right there would be a miracle of God. People don't just raise from the dead, yet Jesus did that. That was a miracle. Okay? People don't just get healed from something, but Jesus healed them. That's a miracle. It's when God steps in and does something which goes contrary to all the rules of nature. That's a miracle. We believe in that. Okay? The other thing I want to define here for you is chance. Now, chance is a possibility of a thing happening naturally, usually when there's a small percentage of it normally happening. We would call this beginner's luck. Do we believe in that? I do. When somebody picks up a sport, let's say they decide to start playing pool, okay? And they're going and they play, it's their first time, and they do a really good job. Is that luck? No, what that is that they haven't had time to develop bad habits. See, in the process of practicing, We do develop good habits, but we also develop bad habits. And that's the point of having a coach, someone there to notice your bad habits and tell you, oh, wait, that's not the way that it's supposed to be done. You keep messing up because you keep doing it this way, and that's the wrong way. We develop bad habits over things. So if I've never done anything, I don't have good habits, but I also don't have bad habits. Okay? Luck is when you accomplish something that has a small percentage of success without the intervention of God. Take, for example, if I were to take a dime and I were to tape it on one end of the house, and then I would go to the other end of the house and try to take that a second dime and throw it over there and hit that dime. The percentage of that actually happening the first time without any practice is very low. If I do it the first time, that's what people call beginner's luck. Do we believe in it? It happens. Why not? What's so wrong about that? The idea of luck that's not good would be taking a rabbit's foot. Oh, it gives me good luck. Do we as Christians believe in good things happening by chance? Absolutely not. That's not biblical. However, one thing that the Bible does talk about is the favor of God. So you go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, and it talks in the first 14 verses, if you enter into covenant with me and you obey and keep your half, these are the things that will happen. You'll be blessed going out, blessed coming in. You'll be blessed in the field, blessed at your home, blessed at the marketplace. The fruit of your womb would be blessed. Your children are going to be blessed. Everything you do will be blessed. People like to call that good fortune or luck. Man, that guy's just lucky. Things always turn out for good. No, it's not luck. God's intervening. God's showing favor on them. It's not considered a miracle because it's not necessarily going against nature. It's not anything you're doing, but God is looking down upon you with favor. And so that is actually a biblical principle. There are people who are born with a level of favor that other people don't have. And we look at it and think, man, they're so lucky. No, they're not. God gives you favor to match the call he's put upon your life. If God has called you to be a motivational speaker for thousands and thousands of people, then you're going to find favor in the industry that connects you to those. If God has called you to be great at ministering to people on a one-on-one basis, he's going to grant you so much favor with dealing with people individually. You'll have just a great, attractive personality. People want to be around you and they want to hear what you say. That's the favor of God. Some people have a really high calling, and so God has to match that with high favor. And some people have a low calling, or what we might consider low, and what we might say, I guess not low, because nothing in the kingdom is low, but what we would say as not as glamorous of a calling, but the favor matches that. And so wherever you are, as long as you remain in the will of God and you remain faithful to the covenant you have with God, it will always be matched with favor. If you're in a covenant with God and everything seems to fail and you're just not finding favor, you're probably not in God's will. And that's where Romans 8:28 comes in. We need to pray. We need to spend hours groaning in prayer, seeking the Lord's will for our life so that we can align. Because if God's called me here and I'm living here, I'm not going to find favor. And it's going to look that everything I do is an absolute failure in life. Now, that's not to say that every time something fails, you're not in God's will. Sometimes we're just being tested. Sometimes Satan's attacking us. That is why it is so important for us to be able to hear the voice of God. It's one thing to talk to God and tell him our desires, and this is what I want, but it's another thing to listen, because if I can hear the voice of God, then I can determine what it is that God wants me to do and not what people think I should do, or not what, this is what I want to do. I'm doing what God has called me to do. Now, let's go back to 1 Kings 22, verse 34. But a certain man drew his bow at random. Or this word can also be translated at in his innocence, meaning he wasn't shooting for this. It wasn't his goal to strike right where the arrow struck. Okay? He wasn't skilled enough in doing that, one could say. What it means is he pulled the bow, he let go, the arrow flew, it struck right where it counts and killed the king. Okay? Is that chance? Everybody likes to say, well, no, God intervened. Really? Because the Bible here actually says at random. God is not a God to give his credit to something as trivial as chance or just a random luck of the draw. It didn't happen that way. What this is saying is God didn't intervene. God knew what was going to happen, and he said, I'm just going to sit back and watch. He already knew it was going to happen. Okay? What happened was there was a very, very small percentage of this happening. He hadn't practiced the shot. He wasn't skilled in it. He pulled the bow, let the arrow fly, and it hit the king. Call it luck if you want. The Bible calls it a random chance. You don't believe in it? This right here, keep in mind, is not enough to make a doctrine off of, oh yeah, we believe in luck, we believe in chance. No, we do believe that as long as we're in God's will, all things work together for good. But God is not continually putting his finger on absolutely everything and orchestrating it. He programmed into things. He's told them, this is how you exist. And he's set back and he's allowing things to happen. Now, everything works according to its nature unless it's acted upon. It could be acted upon by us, or it could be acted upon by God, which we would call a miracle. But things always happen according to its nature. With all that being said, I want to thank you for tuning in. Please hit the like and subscribe button. There's a little bell to get all the notifications when I upload new videos. Thanks for watching my channel. God bless. Rev out.